cameraman is Jackson. Thank you, Jackson. So here are my thoughts on The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So I read the book actually before even reading the prequel book, which is what this movie is based off of. I went ahead and read all the Hunger Games books and then the prequel book. So I really got the full experience. I'd seen the movies before, but I had not read the books. So it was my first time reading them. So I already thought the book was pretty mid compared to the intrigue and stakes and stuff of the original trilogy. Mostly because we're getting this internal dialogue of Coriolanus Snow the entire time that I don't think lends itself to being really interested or empathetic, especially since we know where it's going. We already have that kind of mystery removed. I think that it provides a lot of really interesting origin stories to a lot of things in the trilogy, but ultimately I think diehard fans and just kind of like fans, from what I understand, everyone kind of found it to be a big letdown. Unlike Midnight Sun, which came out the same year, which a vast majority of Twilight fans found to be pretty much exactly what they had hoped for. So I found the book to be pretty mid. I found the movie to be really bad. I expected it to be mid, but they kind of cut out all the things that to me made the book interesting. And understandably, even though the movie was like 2.5 hours long, honestly, that was too short to get into all the things that the book covers. I think that it keeps the movie action-packed to a certain degree, like, because so much is happening and so much time is passing. I don't feel like you're ever like, oh, I wish something, you know, like, oh, they're really staying on these games for a long time or something. Everything moves at a very quick pace. However, that quick pace eliminates all the things that make you interested. So in the book, what I really liked was getting to know the people in the academy, getting to know his family, getting to know all these people that I think the movie takes for granted. The first Hunger Games really takes the time to introduce you to the characters, and even Catching Fire does. So by the time we get to Mockingjay, they're able to just throw like action, back to back to back to back, and it's not an issue because we already have intense feelings for these characters. So of course the stakes are going to feel real. Whereas the movie, if you haven't read the book, you don't care about these characters, and they don't give you a reason to care about the characters. You aren't spending time with them. Before, you know, anything happens to the Academy students, before anything happens to the tributes, you don't really care. So when something does inevitably happen pretty quickly in the movies, it doesn't really matter. Any sort of payback or comeuppance is completely useless. It doesn't matter at all. You don't get any sense of satisfaction from that, and then any sense of gravity at, oh no, this character that I actually was kind of liking, it eliminates that. It eliminates all the Covey interesting backstory. It eliminates Sejanus's. When I read the book, I was pronouncing like Sejanus, so that was something new for me, was learning that it's Sejanus actually, which I think is worse. So the whole Sejanus thing, which I'm going to keep this review spoiler free, but this whole Sejanus thing, you lose the gravity of a lot of things. Like, he was probably my favorite character in the book. There was a lot of times where I wanted to shake him, don't get me wrong, but overall I felt like he was the most layered and interesting character. They just kind of don't have enough time because of the sheer amount our main actor, I felt like, was strongest in line delivery, the strongest in working with what he had and making it believable and good. I felt like he was the best overall, which is good because we have to spend the most time with him. I felt like Hunter Schafer was really good. She was super convincing the entire time, and I liked her. I just wanted more of her, but then again, I wanted more of Tigress in the book as well, and we didn't get that either. So that wasn't something really the movie did. I didn't feel like we got any establishment as to Coriolanus's parents. Like, they were a really big, sort of his idealization of his mom and his dad were a really big part of the book, and we didn't really get, we just kind of got like hinted at everything in the movie, but it was almost like they were keeping secrets from us that we were like supposed to discover, and then they just never revealed. When in the book, they're never secrets, they're just, a lot of it is internal dialogue, and so it becomes very difficult for them to show us in the movie, and so we just feel the entire time like there's this emptiness to everything, and we're not getting the full picture because we aren't. Who's someone else that did well? I liked Dr. Gall. I liked her a lot more in the movie than I did in the book. I felt like in the book, I just couldn't imagine her as a real person. She was just like a little too much. Whereas in the movie, I felt like, I think that was the only character that, maybe Coriolanus, I liked a little bit more in the movie, mostly because we didn't have to listen to his dialogue. Honestly, I felt like the entire movie was really well casted. That wasn't the issue for me. I really do think it ultimately comes down to the directing, because these are very competent actors who match the roles well, and just, it's like they needed different takes. Like, the takes they chose were not the right ones, and the editing and pacing around the dialogue, like the dialogue was by far the weakest part of the movie, I think. Like, in terms of delivery, like every scene, the moment they started talking, I was like, please stop talking and just like do anything else, which is not what I want, especially when dialogue tends to be my favorite part of movies. I love movies where like nothing happens and the entire thing is revolved around dialogue. I mean, I love the Twilight Saga and all of its faults, you know, because I like movies like that. But it just wasn't, it's so sad because we haven't gone to Hunger Games movie in a long time, and I wanted to feel that feeling. Our movie theater was packed. It was a sold out movie, and this is pre-release. It's not even opening night yet. And I didn't feel like the freaking audience cared. Like, these were people that obviously, it was a group full of, this is a college town, so it's mostly young people who grew up watching the original Hunger Games series, and it was dead. When I saw the re-release of the Twilight movies in theaters, everyone was laughing and exclaiming and having fun the entire time. And yes, it's a movie that they're already familiar with, but this movie has a lot of wink wink nod nods to the original series, and there was not like a single like woo from the crowd. Like, no one was really excited.
The Wonka trailer got a better reaction.
The Wonka trailer got a bigger reaction than this. The trailer to Wonka had more people laughing going hee than this. Like, no one made any noise. The only person who was making noise in the entire theater was the woman next to me, and it was only because I could tell she hadn't read the book, and so during certain action scenes she was getting nervous as to what was going to happen, which is good. I mean, I'm glad that someone got sucked into it, and I honestly wish kind of that I hadn't read the book first. But then again, like, because on the one hand I wouldn't know what was going to happen next, but on the other hand, I think the book was the only thing that was giving any credit to this movie in my mind, because I was filling in all the gaps with what I knew from the book, because I read it this year. I didn't read it back in 2020. I read it this year, so it was super familiar to me, and I knew a lot, so I knew like every change they made and everything they left out. And so my mind was filling in these gaps, which was doing a service to the movie that it probably didn't deserve. Anyway, book I'd probably give like a 6 out of 10 maybe. Movie I would give like a 3 out of 10. I don't think this is a movie you have to see in the theaters, which is really sad because the And so I feel like just wait for this movie to come out free on a streaming service. See it once. You probably won't want to see it again. But unless you're just itching to go see it, I say that this one is definitely a pass, and it's going to be a thumbs down for me, unfortunately. So yeah, that's my quick review. No hate to Suzanne Collins. In fact, I liked the book a lot more than I